Internment. Episode 5 of Season 4 of The Walking Dead coming at his live here. And of course, there's a sickness coming down with the sickness. That's basically been the entire plot line of Season 4. And thankfully, we're almost at the end of it. But Rick, he arrives back. He bumps into Maggie, who's clearing walkers from the fence. She basically asks him, "Where is Carol?" Rick tries to avoid this, but she's like, "Rick, what happened, man?" Then Rick, very shitebaggy, kind of like breaks down, which I just didn't really get. Like, one minute Rick is this hardened guy who will take nothing from nobody, and then here, like, he's almost grating about the fact that he banished Carol from the group. It's like, she killed Karen and David, and then when he asks Maggie, would she have done the same? She says, yeah, and then she points him on his way to where Carl is, so he heads to the admin building, I believe it's called, and instead of, making contact with Carl, obviously due to the sickness, he just slides a bag of food across the floor. But meanwhile, inside Block A, things are tough for Herschel. I mean, he's like the only guy not getting sick, but essentially, you've got him, Sasha, and Glenn who are, like, doing all the medical work, and again, it's just like, it's a bit unrealistic how all these people, right, are getting ill, getting sick, but the main characters, like the core group, there's nothing wrong with them. Like, albeit, right, I know Glenn and Sasha are sick here, but like, there's people half their age, or like who are better physical condition than Glenn and Sasha, and they're on these airbags struggling to breathe. And also with what, like, 75-year-old Herschel, who's turned into MVP this episode, saving people. I mean, he couldn't actually bring himself to bring some of the people, kill some of the people, so Glenn had to step in. But I mean, Glenn's done. I mean, I'll admit, right, it did look touch and go whether Glenn would survive or not. But at the same time, he's Herschel can't really kill them. So Mr. Jacobson is a guy that dies. But again, it's just a bunch of no names. All right, Mr. S, the doctor guy, dies. Oh, whoop de do. Maggie then arrives at the same block, but she's talking to him through like the security window you used to meet the cons with. Herschel says you're not allowed to meet Glenn because he doesn't want Maggie to see Glenn in his current state, which is good. And then Glenn also thanks Herschel for not allowing Maggie to see him, which, all right, that's a nice wee thing there. Herschel then basically decides to start closing all the doors, which in my opinion probably should have been done age ago, because he's only really did this because the Dr. S guy has told him to do it. But in reality, like, the fact we've known for ages now that you don't need to be bitten to turn. Like, if you die, you come back. And considering, like, this disease, like, you're literally coughing up blood, and they've talked about how deadly it is, kind of makes no sense in my opinion why this thing happened. I mean, and also, like, you've just Rick, who he doesn't get it either. It's just, I don't know, I just feel like it's a wee bit forced. Like, no character that's halfway relevant is getting this flu and dying. It's absolutely not. But a man basically stumbles out of a cell and he's suffocating through the blood in his lungs, which Sasha and Herschel then put him on the bed and he wheels him to kill him in the other room. But Sasha's too weak now because of the virus, the flu or whatever, and she can't bring herself to do it. But Herschel has to put a sheet over the guy's head, then stab him, and Rick notices this, and it's kind of like awkward because it almost like looks like, from a point of view, that like Herschel's just killed this guy or put him out of his misery because he's not actually turned. But then Rick basically explains to him about what happened with Carol, and Herschel doesn't really give a shit, if I'm being honest. And would you? Like, I don't think, I just don't understand. Because at the end of the day, how can anyone sympathise with Carol? The virus spread anyway. I mean, at least you could argue on the off chance that if those two died and the virus stopped, you could argue the fact of, oh, she stopped it from spreading, but she didn't. Absolutely stupid. As Herschel returns, we see Sasha collapsing, but due to this, he leaves a cell block unlocked, and then, oh shit, all the walkers start coming out And then this ain't good because Norris, this guy called Norris, Lando Norris, is sitting beside his son, right? And he locks the door behind him, which is just fucking stupid. He's trapping himself in a cell with somebody who might die. Honestly, ridiculous. This part. Sasha gets revived, by the way, by Herschel, but again, Glenn then starts choking on his own blood and can't do anything, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And then we get like a crazy scene, right? Where Lizzie's calling for help because she's getting chased. Herschel kind of saves her. This blonde woman then comes in, pulls a walker off of Herschel, but then the father then shoots, because when he shoots his son, who they're both in the same cell, he's turned, bites his father, and because he gets bit, he ends up shooting the woman that kills her. And due to this, the gunshots echo obviously throughout the prison, and then Rick is like, "Holy fuck, man, we've got to go save the people." But during this, Maggie and Rick are actually sorting the fence out, so both of them can't go. And then we see like really weird traits of Lizzie, where she's like, getting very, very friendly with the walkers. And again, I wasn't really a fan of Lizzie or her sister, Mika and Lizzie. I thought they were two bums, but Maggie comes in, and then we just get like a crazy scene where Maggie and Herschel help Glenn get the air pumped to him, so he's alright. She basically saves him with the axe, I believe it is, and then Glenn is saved. But basically, everyone other than the two kids, Maggie, Herschel, and Sasha, die here. It's the truth. Like Dr. S, Caleb here, Herschel actually breaks one of his arms, which is it was a pretty sick scene. Seeing the arm just absolutely snap. But outside, Rick, the fence gives way. Carl shows up to kinda save them. But then they get the assault rifles, and they're just shooting as many walkers as they can. And once they've killed more or less all the walkers that managed to get in through the fence, a car pulls up, and it's Daryl, Michonne, Tyrese, and Bob. Well, they help. They basically split the roles. Two of them go to the A block, two of them stay out there to help. And then Tyrese goes in, sees Sasha, boom. And then Bob goes to save Glenn with some medication, of course, that they got from their wee college trip, so to speak. And then this right here, when we cut to the next morning, that is essentially this flu storyline done. It is. Like, there's just really no mention of it ever again. And the next morning, Rick is back to doing his wee routine. He's splashing water on his face. He goes to talk to Daryl, but then he talks to his son for a wee bit, and then he starts sorting out the garden with Carol, Herschel. Then it's like helping Michonne and Daryl load up all the dead bodies that, of course, died from the sickness. Daryl then queries where Carol is. Then Herschel says she's fine, but go talk to Rick about it. Fucking shite bag, Herschel. I mean, like, I know Rick, right? He will always be the de facto leader, but this is very piss poor for Herschel. He could have just told Daryl, but he doesn't have a set of fucking balls on him. He put it under Rick. Now, I know Rick's the one that basically told her to leave, but at the end of the day, ridiculous. And Daryl, is he going to go speak to Rick about it? Probably. Herschel, though, looks like him and Michelle are going to get rid of these bodies. And then we pan outside of the prison, and at this point, I don't really know what we're thinking is going to happen here. We're just getting like a nice wee panoramic view of the prison, and then who's watching the prison? It's the governor. And finally, after a very stale opening to this season, you get like a bit of hope with the governor. Now, of course, if you know the show, spoiler alerts, he doesn't last very long. It lasts about 3 episodes, but at the same time, I just feel like The Walking Dead. I'm not saying, because of course season 2 they dragged it with Sophia. I'm under no illusion of that, right? But there isn't a season of The Walking Dead where it ain't dragged out, and there's not a season where like you will get at least like 5, 6, and in later seasons, fuck knows how many filler episodes you get, but you will get literally about 6 filler episodes a season. And it's just due to the fact of 16 episodes now, to be honest. You've actually probably get more than 6 filler episodes, but at the end of the day, the governor's back, guys. But this episode, I remember thinking this was like the best episode of season 4, like up to this point. Because, like, Herschel was really good in this episode, and it was kind of like a final hurrah for the guy. No spoilers. But again, it wasn't that good, and I don't like the fact that, like, no one relevant dies of this flu, and then, like, there's other people who have been exposed to it but don't get it. Like, I understand Rick's the main character and he's a bit of a badass, so I mean, they're not really going to give him the flu, but I think stuff like that just bothers me. Like, you can't make this flu out to be so fucking deadly, but no one of any sort of important note doesn't die. Now, again, if they did die, I'd be questioning why the fuck's an important character dying of the flu, but I digress, guys. So I'm going to give this episode of The Walking Dead a 7. And until next time, leave your thoughts down below. Next one, I believe, is called Live Bait or Dead Weight or something. Live Bait, Dead Weight. Don't really know, but it's a 7 out of 10 for episode 5 of season 4. Make sure you check out all the other stuff on the channel. But until next time, guys, leave your thoughts down below and give me a hell yeah and peace, brother. Oh yeah.